I've been thinking a lot about kindness lately, and I'd just like to share a few stories about how it's impacted my life. When I was little, my dad was a lawyer for Walmart and Tyson Foods, but he found it to be deceptive and unfulfilling. So when I was 7 years old, my parents quit their jobs and started a nonprofit to raise funds for us to do humanitarian aid internationally. I grew up in this odd lifestyle of travel and volunteer work, but I wasn't always into the types of work that we did. For instance, one time when we were in South Africa, my parents were volunteering with a local feeding program. So one morning, my mom and I went to this kitchen, and I, little 9-year-old Tanner, was given the job of chopping potatoes. Now, the first thing you need to know is that the bin of potatoes that I had to chop was about this big around and this deep, filled with water and peeled potatoes. The second thing is in our summer, it's South Africa's winter because they're in the southern hemisphere, and it was cold in that concrete kitchen. So there I was with potato juice draining down my arms, soaking my jacket with my fingers numb as I chopped over 200 potatoes. I was not altogether pleased with what I was doing, and I would have honestly rather been anywhere else at that point. So after we had finished making the curry, we loaded this huge pot of curry into the van and drove it into the center of the village. When I got out of the van, I saw all the malnourished children who had lined up to eat their first hot meal of the day, and I realized that all the chopping potatoes, it hadn't been for nothing. There was a point to it all, and that my action of chopping potatoes had an impact on these children's lives. I've also been a recipient of such acts of kindness. Over the Christmas break, I got a job as a pool attendant at the Four Seasons Resort north of Kona. It was the first job I'd ever worked. So on my second day there, I was bussing drinks, which is kind of the job of the pool attendant. We're basically waiters, and it's our job to keep the guests as happy as possible. So I was taking drinks to different guests, and as I was handing this one lady her pina colada, I leaned down very carefully to gently put it in her hands like a good server. It may not have been a good idea to be leaning down when I was absolutely brand new with dealing with drink trays. So as I leaned down, another customer's, it was a virgin lava flow. It toppled from the tray, landing on the ground, splattering lava flow everywhere, including on the guest. I was mortified. Luckily, the lady was not too angry, and I mopped up the drink, apologizing profusely, because this is a 5-star hotel. They're not supposed to have servers dumping drinks on all the guests. So as I took the empty glass back to the kitchen, I realized I had to go back to the bartender and get him to make another one. So I went up to the bartender, whose name was Frank, and I was like, Frank, I kind of spilled the other lava flow. Could you make me another one, maybe? And I was expecting some snide remark or comment on my inexperience, but he just nodded and got to work. And so when I came back to the bar to pick up the drink, I saw the lava flow in its nice glass, but then also next to it was a disposable cup with another lava flow in it. And he pointed to it and said, "This one's for you." And I was really touched by that gesture. And it really helped make me feel welcome to the community instead of like this new and inexperienced pool servant. So I've been thinking, what is kindness? I'd say that an act of kindness is an unnecessary action that a person takes in consideration of another person. They can be tiny things that show you care. Not all kindness needs to involve feeding poor people in Africa. Even small things can mean the world to someone when they're having a difficult day. Every act creates a ripple that spreads, and we can't see the full effects of an uplifting word, a smile, or a caring gesture. Whenever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness. Frank, the bartender, may not even remember his kind act, but it left an impact on me and helped me relax and feel like I was welcome at the Four Seasons. I've seen great kindness at HPA as well. For instance, my freshman year, one of the seniors then, whose name was Kellen, introduced himself at the beginning of the year, and every time we passed each other, he'd say, "Hey, Tanner," and it made me feel really good. I've also seen several of my friends, Sebastian Restrepo, Oliver Grayson, Samir Mirage, Sarah Emmons, and many others, helping their classmates with homework when they could have very easily been doing something else. Another time, in the morning while I was on the bus from Kona up to HPA, the bus was absolutely packed and there was standing room only. So I was standing in the aisle, absolutely exhausted, pretty much completely asleep, standing up. And about halfway through the commute, Ryan Cohen stood up and offered me his seat, and he stood while I sat down and slept. All of these are great examples of actions that we can take that leave positive impacts on ourselves and those around us. If we start off each day with the intent to do at least one considerate act for someone, how much of an impact could we have on the world? How far does that influence reach? So, be a part of positive change in the world. Pay kindness forward. Uplift and encourage people who need it, in hopes that they will reach out to you when you need it. Have a great Friday, and go out there and change the world.